you and I'm sorry, this is so stressful. Okay, I'm going to start, honey. Okay, thanks, sweetheart. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cooking in Cuneiform. I'm a little anxious because I've not actually ever done this before, and I've already burnt myself in the oven once today, but hopefully it's the only time. So hi, thank you very much for joining me. My name is Megan, for those of you who are new here. I'm a PhD student at the Johns Hopkins University studying Assyriology. This channel is run by myself and my husband, Dr. Joshua Bowen, who graduated with his PhD either 1 or 2 years ago now, I forget which. Also in Assyriology. So we're a very fun, exciting couple. We talk about cuneiform an awful lot. And frankly, I'm amazed we have any friends left. But today, I thought I would do something a little different because it's Christmas, and because my Twitter feed has been exploding with all kinds of exciting gingerbread, baked good kind of things. So we are going to bake gingerbread cookies, but they are cookies with a twist because they're going to be decorated with cuneiform writing, which makes them extra delicious, I think. So this is the kind of thing that, after I completely and utterly ruin them by dropping them on the countertop. But this is upside down. There we go. This is a cookie with the sign mole on it, which means but it was appropriate. Also, I just really like the signs. I think they're really pretty. And here comes Josh. Oh, the audio is terrific. Let me just check that this is actually working because I have to change my microphone input. There we go. Hopefully now we have the right microphone. Hopefully there is not a lot of background noise. Hopefully this works well instead. I'm really sorry about that, everyone. We decided to try and use the lapel mic, which we've never used before. I'm just going to hold this until Josh comes back with the sound. But we've never used the lapel mic before, and I thought, hey, it'll work really well. I can be hands-free. I don't have to stay glued to the countertop. But apparently the sound was awful. So we're going to use this one instead. And Josh will be back. Here he comes.
Do you have to tell the computer
to
use that microphone?
I've done it. It's not. Jeez.
Let me just check. Sorry.
And I had the mic muted. Oh, I'm a very intelligent person, I promise. I'm not really technologically minded. There we go. That's fine. Hooray! There we go!
Please tell me it's
Let's
working.
try that one again. See, Equoceros is saying that it's the Anzu bird's fault. I mean, you're quite right. The Anzu bird does screw everything up. So, I hope you can hear me. Sorry about the technological snafu. Hi again. I'm Megan, and we're going to bake some cuneiform gingerbread cookies. And I already showed you one example, but I'm going to show you another because they look cool and also they taste absolutely delicious. And I made quite a lot earlier.
Do you have to tell it to not use the laptop mic?
I don't.
It sounds like it's using both.
There's only one audio input. And it's this one, so I don't know what's going on.
Is it possible that that preview is still playing and that's feeding back through?
I mean, it is, but the internal microphone is off. Oh! It's a good job I was not flustered to begin with, isn't it? Very good job. That is the dinger sign. Equosaurus, well done. Dinger sign. Ah. Also one of my favourites because it's a little star. Ah, it's beautiful. Anyway, I made a bunch to test out the recipe earlier today. And I was really excited, and I made them in the closest size and shape approximation I can use to get actual tablets. But then it was too big, and then they all the signs mushed together, and the cookie rose too much. Is it still?
It is, because I was just saying maybe we have to...
I don't know how to do that. I'm just going to have to unplug the microphone. I'm going to use the internal one.
Oh, yeah, you want that?
Yeah, I don't. Okay, let's see if it works now. Hopefully it works now. Thank you everyone for being so patient. I'm really sorry. One day we'll get our acts together and work out what we're doing. The problem is we get the system perfected on the main computer, and then I decide I want to do a cooking show, and we can't move our main computer through because there isn't really enough room in our kitchen. So we get everything loaded onto the laptop, and then I don't know what goes wrong, but something goes wrong. So this is take 3, I think. Hi, thank you for staying. I'm Megan. Today, sounds good, thank you. Today we are baking gingerbread cookies decorated with cuneiform. Hooray! Oh dear. I will be putting the recipe in the description after the stream is over. I was going to try and get it done beforehand, but then I was baking cookies all morning. So no recipe right now, but I think that's okay. But I have it on my iPad right in front of me, which is fantastic. So we start out with 2 cups of flour. I don't know why I'm showing you the flour. I'm assuming you know what flour is. And we mix that with baking soda. Hooray. That's a ½ teaspoon. 1 teaspoon of baking soda. 1 teaspoon of ground ginger. I love gingerbread, and I love it because it's full of all kind of different delicious spices, which makes me very, very, very happy. 1 teaspoon of ginger, 1 teaspoon of allspice. Hooray! Now, this is the only thing I've ever baked with allspice in, which is a shame because it smells absolutely delicious. I don't even know what allspice is, apart from delicious smelling, but I think I should bake with it a lot more. I'm not sure my children would necessarily agree with that. I like very strong aromatic flavours, and 1 teaspoon of ground cloves. Also delicious. I put whole cloves in my curry though, so cloves are a thing I am used to. And 1 teaspoon of ground ginger. Did I already put ginger in? Oh, this isn't ginger, this is cinnamon. Good, I was worried I was double dosing on ginger, which is not necessarily a bad thing, again, because ginger is just, it's delicious. I love it. So, we put them all in here, and it looks very exciting, and we mix it all up, doopy-doopy-doo. If you have questions, by the way, my husband, Dr. Josh, is in the live stream. He can either answer your questions or relay them to me, and I will try and answer your questions. So you mix all of that together, the flour and the baking soda and all of the spices and salt. We need half a teaspoon of salt. I nearly forgot the salt. Rookie mistake. You know, one time when I was in high school, actually, I was in home economics in my cooking class, and we made a quiche. I'm not a massive fan of quiche, so I wasn't entirely sure really what I was doing. And the recipe said to season generously with salt and pepper. So, being a very enthusiastic 13-year-old, I seasoned it generously with salt and pepper. I was very proud of myself. I baked this beautiful quiche. It rose well, quiches don't really rise, do they? That's soufflés. But it looked delicious. It had ham and cheese, and it was fantastic. And I took it home, and I was so proud, and I gave it to my mum, and we were going to have it for dinner. And I gave it to her, and she cut a slice and tried it. And bless her heart, she didn't spit it out. But her face just took on this very interesting expression. And I said, "Oh, what did I do wrong?" She said, "Megan, how much salt did you put in this?" And I said, I don't know. It said season generously. And what I'd done is I'd taken a salt container with this kind of pouring spout and just kind of tipped a bunch of salt in, because I hadn't really cooked a lot up until that point. I didn't know how much salt was generous and how much was ridiculous. And she said, "Megan, it's like eating the sea." So unfortunately, we had to get rid of that quiche. So moral of the story, when you are cooking, always try and use exact measurements, unless you really, really know what you're doing, because otherwise you will make a quiche that's completely inedible, even to the most loving of mothers. So I've added the salt, and you have to mix it all up, mix. And then we have something that looks very much like dirty flour. It smells really good. So we put that to one side, and we take a second bowl, and we add half a cup of butter at room temperature. This is a mistake I always make. I decide that I'm going to bake something 10 minutes before I start baking it, so I get the butter out, and it's rock hard when I start cooking, which means that either it just takes 8 million years to beat everything together properly, or I end up with a cookie with a lump of butter in, which is not terribly appetizing to anyone. So I actually made the point today of getting the butter out of the fridge several hours before I started. So I feel very accomplished. Even though I apparently can't work a microphone, I can get butter out of the fridge. So, you know, you win some, you lose some. And the baby's awake. Oliver, go back to sleep. So we put the butter in the thingamabob being the bowl. Ta-da! And then we add 1 cup. Oh, that shouldn't be a cup, that should be a half cup. Excuse me, 1 second. We don't want a whole cup of brown sugar. That would be ridiculous. Luckily I have an extra container here. I can decant some. He should go back to sleep, Josh. It's very early for him to be waking up.
He's trying to
yeah.
sleep and be.
Is he like sitting up or anything?
Yeah, he is.
What's the time? 2:16. This is Josh. Say hi, Josh. Try and give him his sheep and see if he'll go back to sleep. So we have half a cup of brown sugar. You tip that in with the butter. We are also going to be cooking today with maple syrup and molasses. And again, this is the only recipe that I ever made with molasses. I'm not even sure what molasses is, because I never really heard of it until I moved to the States. But we want 1/4 cup of maple syrup or maple flavoured syrup. It doesn't seem to matter terribly much. So 1/4 cup. Pour that in with the sugar and butter. And we also want 1/4 cup of molasses. And this stuff is like ridiculously sticky. So, I'm going to be using all of my molasses up. Oh, Oliver, baby. Go to sleep, honey. 1/4 cup of molasses. Tip it in with the butter and with the sugar. There we go. And if you have one of these silicone spatula-y thingies, it's actually really, really handy for making sure you take out all of the syrup and the molasses. That is a sad, sad baby. Sad baby. So we just tip everything in there and then put that stuff to one side. Oh, I'm now getting molasses all over everything that's on my countertop, which is probably not a great thing. But luckily I can clean things up afterwards. So we have our dirty looking butter, we have our interesting mixture of syrup, molasses, brown sugar, and more butter. This isn't dirty looking butter, this is dirty looking flour. The butter's going to look pretty dirty when I'm done mixing molasses with it as well. Ed Brewer, will the recipe measurements be in imperial or metric units? Actually, they're in cups and teaspoons. Yes. So, I don't know if that's imperial or metric. It's American. And it's a little bit, again, as a British baker, it's very strange to be measuring things in cups. Because, again, before I came to the States, I didn't know that cups were like an independent measurement. I read American recipes when I was trying to cook at home, and it would say 2 cups of flour. And I'm like, well, what size cup do I use? Because, 1 second, to me, these are both cups. And you do not use these as measurements for baking in any country, really. So when I moved to the States, I was very pleased to see that actually a cup is a designated measurement of volume. This is a cup. It's not like a drinking cup, but it holds 1 cup of something. Generally speaking, I will cook in grams, but this was the recipe that we had, and it made delicious, tasty cookies, so I didn't try fooling with it. So, we take this dude. I'm sorry, it's going to be a little bit noisy, hopefully not terribly noisy, but you take this and you beat the flour, not the flour, the sugar, the molasses, the syrup, and the butter all together until it looks kind of like a dirty brown sludge. It's not very appetizing looking. I don't think this is too loud, so you should still be able to hear me. So you just keep going. If you have a stand mixer, that will work perfectly well. I do have a stand mixer, but it's very, very noisy. So I decided that it probably wouldn't be a good choice for today. It's also really heavy, and I just didn't feel like getting it down from the cabinet. Also, while I do this, Josh has sent me a couple of questions, I believe. Let's see. Someone asked, am I using fresh grated ginger? I'm not. I'm using dried ginger, ground ginger. You could use fresh ginger. I don't know if the water... I mean, it's not enough really to do a lot to the water content, but you probably need a different measurement because fresh ginger is much more potent than ground ginger. So, yeah. There we go. So we mix all of that together. And you can see, it honestly, it kind of looks like really dark sand. It looks really disgusting. I promise, when it's finished, it does not taste disgusting. But after you've done that with the butter and all of the various syrupy, sugary things, you take an egg. Put an egg in. Oh, try and break it without getting shell. I did wash my hands before I started, everyone, so rest assured, these are clean fingers that I am using to fish out bits of eggshell. There we go, so that's done. So it's, and when I read this recipe I was very confused because it says to beat the egg into the butter mixture until fluffy. And I was like, well, I know how to make a meringue, and you do indeed beat it until fluffy. But I started mixing this and I thought, this is basically like sand made of sugar and butter. I'm never, ever, ever going to get this to go fluffy. And I did. It was very exciting. And by very exciting, I mean a bit relieving because then I didn't have to find a whole new gingerbread recipe. But I'm going to ramp the speed up on this. So I'm sorry if the sound gets weird. But we beat it at a nice high speed until it gets fluffy. Because really fluffy sand is definitely a good thing at this point. If you need to stop the mixer and kind of scrape the edges down so that you get all of the mixture in the center, because otherwise you get like little bits at the edges that aren't incorporated. And no one wants that. No one wants little bits at the edges. So keep beating until fluffy. If you've never seen fluffy sand, hold on because you're about to. At least you will when I finish beating this. And again, stand mixer, probably more useful at this point than a hand mixer, but also a hell of a lot noisier and very heavy. So, looking suitably fluffy. So, fluffy sand, for those of you who were interested. So we take our fluffy sand and we keep the mixer out because we will need that. And we take a nice spoon and we start incorporating the flour and spice mixture, the dirty flour, if you will, into the butter and sugar and egg. So I'm just doing a couple of spoonfuls at a time. This mixture gets very, very thick. And actually, there's only 2 cups of flour in that bowl. Ultimately, we will add 3 cups of flour to this mixture, but just adding 2 with the hand mixer is challenging. And I add the final cup using my hands and kind of kneading it in almost like bread. The recipe says to use a wooden spoon, but it's hands are easier. I bake a lot of bread, or I did before Oliver was born. It's a little bit difficult to find time to bake bread when you have a small baby who is shouting at you very loudly because it needs feeding. So we just keep adding. I add 2 spoonfuls at a time of the flour. Mix and mix and mix. Do-do-do. Do-do-do. And you might be able to hear the hand mixer. It's beginning to struggle a little bit with the dough gets quite thick. So it's beginning to struggle a little bit with that. So just take it slowly, make sure everything gets mixed in well. Because as with lumps of butter, one does not really want lumps of flour in one's cookies. That is definitely not an enjoyable thing. At least I wouldn't know. I've not actually had lumps of flour in cookies, but I imagine it's not pleasant. And actually I did play a Halloween game once where we had to kind of find coins in a bowl of flour with our faces. So you had to take great mouthfuls of flour. It's quite dangerous now I come to think about it. Great mouthfuls of flour to try and find some coins. And mouthfuls of flour is really not something I suggest. It's quite disgusting. Again, if you're just joining us, hello, welcome. My name is Megan. I am making gingerbread cookies in the shape of cuneiform clay tablets because that's the kind of thing I like to do with my free time. My husband, Dr. Joshua Bowen, is in the chat. If you have questions about what I am doing, why I'm doing it, which is a great question, the kind of research we do, feel free to ask him. He will either answer himself or he will text me the questions and I will answer them. But this is fun, and I love gingerbread. I absolutely love it. I have to confess, I did not make a gingerbread house with our girls this year. I made a gingerbread house. I made like 2 gingerbread houses last year for the very first time. Like from scratch, roll out the gingerbread, cut out the pieces, bake the whole thing, then assemble it. And it was probably one of the most stressful experiences of my life. And that includes giving birth. So I decided to save myself the stress this year, and I actually bought a kit from Aldi. And I felt okay buying the kit because, frankly, after a gingerbread house has been sitting on a kitchen countertop for the best part of a month, I don't want to be eating it. So the fact that it is assembled from a package doesn't bother me so much. So my girls and myself, they had a snow day last week. We made a gingerbread house and they decorated it. And I think Piper, our 5-year-old, has eaten most of the candy off it already. Which is okay, because that's kind of what it's there for. So when you finish mixing the 2 cups of flour, it's going to look something like this. And remember, we need an extra cup, so take off any jewellery, because, well, at least I'm going to take off my jewellery. I recommend you do too, because picking cookie dough out from underneath one's wedding band is not really terribly exciting. It's quite frustrating. So you take the last cup of flour, dump it in. I like to rub a little bit of flour on my palms so that the dough doesn't stick as much as it might otherwise do. And just start kneading everything in and incorporating that. See, it's at the times like these, I really wish we had a professional studio set up so you could see what I'm doing properly. It's not terribly technical, but I feel it must be quite boring just looking at my face while I am kneading cookie dough. At least if you could see the cookie dough, it would be something more interesting to look at. And it'll take a couple of minutes for everything to come together. Remember to scrape off the bottom of the bowl so that you have everything kind of in one nice lump. It's still a little bit sticky. If I'd left my flour out, I'd probably add a little bit more, but it's not sticky enough to be problematic. So we end up with, oh, look, I'm the thing from the Fantastic Four. It's Oliver. Hello, Oliver. And Daddy's going to show everybody. Hooray! Look, there we go. Thank you, sweetheart. So we try and make sure that we get all of the little bits into the ball.
Is that good?
That is perfect. Thank you very much. I think I'm good for now. Perfect. So what we do is we make a nice big ball. That's Oliver. He's looking very unimpressed. He's like, screw you guys. No, don't grab it, sweetheart.
No.
So you make,
good angle.
Yes, perfect, thank you. You make a nice ball of gingerbread and you wrap it in...
There's a question on the side chat.
Oh,
That's
okay,
Sumerian cookies.
Oh, thank you. You wrap it in cling film, saran wrap, plastic wrap, whatever you call it, and you put it in the fridge for 15 minutes, I think. I left mine in there for a few hours, but you put it in there for 15 minutes. 1 second. Oh, that's not right. No, never mind. I thought I had a thing that said 15 minutes later, but apparently they both say 7 minutes later, which is just incorrect. Sorry, I'm just going to scrape the cookie dough off my hands. Give me 1 second. There we go. So you scrape the cookie dough off your hands, and 15 minutes later you come back to your fridge, and you take out a ball of gingerbread dough. And in best Blue Peter fashion, here's one I made earlier. If you understand what Blue Peter is, you are very British, and I salute you. So we have this large ball of cookie dough, which is nice and cold, because what we're going to do now requires it to be relatively firm. So we put it in the fridge so that everything firms up. We get our baking tray and some baking parchment. Sorry, it's going to be a loud noise. And we roll it out. Oh, Josh said there was a question, didn't he, about Sumerian cookies? Let's see. Let me see. Any evidence of ancient Sumerian cookie recipes? I have to know if they had cookies. That's a great question. I actually don't know. I don't know. I know we have some cookie recipes from the right region. I don't know what time period they're from. This is actually something that I have on the list for my next Cooking in Cuneiform episode. Yeah, I don't know. I know we have some recipes. I don't know if we'd really class them as cookies. And I'm not sure which time period they're from. So stay tuned, because we will be doing more cooking and I will try and find that answer and let you know. Excuse me. But we have this delightful giant ball of gingerbread. And what you're going to do is break off a little lump and roll it up. Actually, that's probably too big. So this is the size I was using, and I was kind of smushing it like this, which is kind of chunky. And if you've seen clay tablets, you know some of them are pretty chunky. This will morph into this beast, which is, again, delicious. But the problem is when you bake it, it rises so much that the cuneiform is actually illegible. And while you may not care if people can read the cookies you're serving them, I care, because I have problems. So we're going to make this a little bit smaller. Just put that back on the actual ball. Roll it in a nice ball, roll it out so it's a cylinder shape, and then I'm just going to take the palm of my hand and smush it down onto the baking parchment, trying to keep the shape roughly rectangular, but also making sure that, there we go, ta-da, also making sure that it's not too thick. So that's kind of what we're going for here. We want it to be thick enough to write on, but not so thick that it's going to blow up when you start cooking it. And then we're going to take our trusty chopstick. Dun, dun, dun. Actually, not this. Yes, this chopstick. Let's see. So these are just chopsticks that we got from a Chinese takeaway. So break them in half, and you want the sharpest edge. You want the sharpest edge that you can get. If that means taking a knife and whittling it down a bit, go for it. But what we're going to do is don't hold it like a pencil. I tried this yesterday with our friend William Reed, and I was holding it like a pencil and going boop, 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 boop. And it's actually quite difficult. So if you hold it like that, I don't know what I'm holding that like. And then what you do is
like a scribe.
Like a scribe, there we go. That was my cameraman. So you take that sharp edge and you use it and press it down. And then to make the line, you use the rest of that chopstick. So you see we have a nice wedge there. And I'm drawing these really big because it's just easier that way. There we go. So 3, 4, 5. And there we have the dinghy sign, which means God. It also has the syllabic value of on.
It also means people of the fiery rocket ships.
No, it doesn't go away. Ignore my cameraman, he is new here. So we have the dinger sign, and then when you cook it, it looks like this and is very, very delicious and highly recommended. So we put that down there, and then we break off another piece, and we go roll, roll, roll. So we have a nice ball, and then cylinder, boop. This is going to be a little bit bigger than the other one because it's slightly more dough. You put it down, and you smush. Oh, see, that just looks wrong. So then just trying to keep it roughly rectangular. Ta-da! Hooray! What am I going to write on this one? Let's do mol, because mol is 3 dinger signs, and that makes me very happy. So again, holding it like a stick, I guess, you go whoop, 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 whoop. The sound effect, by the way, definitely does help. Saying whoop each time you make a wedge makes them much more stylish, I feel. So we go whoop, 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 whoop. There we go. Can you, excuse me. I promise I've not been drinking. I'm just a little excitable. So now we have the mol sign. And when you cook the mol sign, it looks like this one. And because it has 3 stars, it is extra delicious as just the 1 star. I might be making that up. And you can also, if you feel particularly imaginative, do things like this and make your name. So this is my name, that's Meh, that's the Gan sign, and then the Dinger sign again has the phonetic value An. So Meg, Ga-An, Megan! I did try and make our daughters' names. Actually, that's Oliver's name. But again, they were on the giant cookies, so you can't really see it properly, but that's the sign U2, that was the Li sign, that was the Ib sign and the Air sign. So Uliba, because Sumerian, Akkadian, Cuneiform does not have a V consonant. I think I'm good, thank you, if you wouldn't mind. I feel that was a particularly attractive angle for everybody.
How's that angle?
Perfect, thank you. So when you have a nice tray full of cuneiform cookies, like this one, you put them in the oven, 350 degrees Fahrenheit, that's roughly 175 degrees centigrade. Yes, I checked that before I said it because I'm awful at converting anything, really. Conversions are not my strong point. So you bake them in the oven for a grand total of 7 minutes, and then you take them out of the oven. And again, if you make, if you make the ginormous cookies, they need closer to 12 minutes. But it does mean that when you take them out, they're nice and crumbly and soft and delicious. I'm going to eat this one. But if you bake them, if they're nice and thin and you bake them for 7 minutes, they come out like that. And they're also delicious. And if you're very excitable, you can throw them on the countertop. And they make a delightful clattering sound. So, that's how you make cuneiform cookies. I highly recommend the recipe, even if you don't use them for cuneiform, because it's delicious. And if anyone lives in Southern Maryland and wants some extra gingerbread batter, gingerbread dough, I have like 2 extra balls of it because I made apparently far too much to test the recipe out before the live stream started. Yeah, highly recommended. They're delicious. And we have been going for 40 minutes, which isn't bad, given our technical glitches. Again, sorry about that. If you have any questions, pop them in the chat. That would be awesome. Yamio Mizuki is saying, did the ancient scribes say whoop when writing? Definitely. Definitely. Yeah, I have no evidence to back that up. That's just my own private psychosis, really. So, yeah. Delicious cookies. Yeah! I don't actually have anything else for you. We have some pretty exciting stuff coming up next year. I was going to say next semester, but then I realised this is not a university, so I don't have to use the semester system. Excuse me. I still have my cough, as you can tell. I still can't sing properly, which really sucks because I like singing, and Christmas carols are my favourite things to sing. So they've been playing on the radio, and I've been trying to sing and sounding a little bit like a cat stuck at the bottom of a well, which is generally speaking not the sound that I'm attempting. My family have been very tolerant of my bizarre sounds, though, so that's good. But next year we have some really exciting things coming up. I have, I think, 3 or 4 interviews scheduled for January and February, which will be amazing. We have, who's coming on? We have Dr. Gina Konstantinopoulos. I butchered that name, I'm very sorry, Gina. But she works on Mesopotamian demons and magic. So that's going to be fascinating. Dr. Moody al-Rashid is going to come back and we're going to talk about women's health in the ancient world, which is really cool because it's not really something that gets talked about. We will have Dr. Heath Jarrell coming on. We haven't finalised when he's coming on yet, but to talk about his book, Child Sacrifice in Ancient Israel, which will be probably not a very upbeat stream, but hopefully will be interesting to everybody. So we have all of those interviews, and I'm going to start a gaming series. One of the little known facts about Megan is that she likes to play computer games. Yep, I do. I always have done. It's a curse that I must bear. But I went to a conference in November and sat through an entire session of papers on gaming and history and archaeology, which was amazing. And I met some really cool people, and one of those really cool people is called Christian, I think Dr. Christian Cameron. So he is going to come on and talk about the historical, the use of history in Assassin's Creed Origins, which is set in ancient Egypt. He has also agreed to do a gaming live stream with us. So he will play through some of his favourite parts of the game, favourite locations, and tell our viewers about the historicity. I'm hopefully going to try and rig it so that I can be in the stream as well, so I can forward him your questions. And then I have 2 classicists who are going to do exactly the same thing for Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is set in classical Greece, which is my other favourite historical period. I did a lot of classics in my undergraduate degree. So that's going to be really cool. And one of the classicists has said she's happy for this to be an ongoing theme, an ongoing feature. So I'm hoping maybe we can do one of these a month. Just get together, play some computer games, and learn about classical Greece. And if that doesn't sound really, really awesome, then I don't know what to say. I can't help you. Sorry. And I need to tell you about this. Josh has nearly finished his Introduction to Sumerian Grammar book. If you didn't know he was writing an Introduction to Sumerian Grammar, he is. It's accompanying our videos of the same name. So he's written out all of the information you need, all of the exercises, but we are currently looking into having the option to include a 3D printed cuneiform tablet. So if you buy this, you get the book, you also get your own tablet, so you can try and read the tablet when you've finished going through the book. I think that would be really cool. We've had some people get very interested about it on Facebook and on Twitter. I need to work out the logistics of such a thing. It would involve having a cuneiform tablet made for us. Dr. Jeremiah Peterson of the Etsy shop, Ancient Text, Modern Scribe. Awesome. If you haven't checked it out, take a look. He's probably someone who would make the tablet for us, but then I'd have to scan the tablet and have it printed. And there can be problems with printing cuneiform tablets and making sure that the cuneiform is actually of a high, well, the tablet itself is of a high enough resolution that you can actually read the cuneiform. So if we can pull it off, I think that would be really cool. I hope we can. What else is going on? Josh and Skylar Fiction are starting a new channel. I think they're going to call it Digital Fiction, which is an awesome name. I think our 11-year-old daughter came up with that one. And they are going to do, I think, 2-on-2 debating, but that might have changed recently. Apparently someone is asking a question in the live chat. Sorry, let me see. How many cookies does this recipe make? That's a fantastic question. I don't know. How many does this say it's going to make? The problem is it depends very much on how many tablets you want. So this is the original ball that I made, and I've already made probably about 10 cookies, and I still have this much left. So I'm going to say a lot of cookies, a lot of very delicious cookies. Yeah, I can't give you a more accurate answer than a lot of cookies, sorry. And again, some of the cookies are like this size, and then some of them are this size. So it depends how big you want your tablets. The woman who put this recipe online actually made a really big inscription. So it's just one baking sheet full of cookie that's inscribed with cuneiform, which is amazing. Please, if you have not already liked the stream, please like it. Subscribe if you're new. We'd love to have you. And, oh yes, you may or may not know we do have a range of t-shirts designed by yours truly. And we have a new design coming up, actually made by one of our viewers, Steffi, who I think is probably in the live chat, that says bitchin' about stitchin', which is amazing and beautiful, and I love it. That'll be coming online in the next week or two. But because Teespring, which is the site we use to sell all of our merchandise, is horribly laid out, I can't stand it, I've put all of our designs on our website. So if you go to digitalhammurabi.com/merchandise, you'll be able to see all of the designs in one place, and then you can click on the link and it'll take you to Teespring where you can purchase them. And finally, I'm going to plug our Patreon because, excuse me, because it's what I do, really. I'm also going to eat some more cookies because this is really good. But we have a Patreon drive to raise money for a summer scholarship for a PhD student. PhDs are very expensive, you don't get paid a whole lot, and you are often not paid for the entirety of your PhD, especially if you're a humanities student, which means that you have to either take out student loans or work through your PhD while also paying tuition fees, because you do have to pay tuition fees as a PhD student. So one of the ways in which this is offset is students will apply for grants when they are either out of funding, or if they're during the summer, if they're traveling and carrying out particular research. So what we're doing is we're setting up our own summer grant, which is funded entirely by donations from our viewers, from our Patreon, which is patreon.com/digitalhammurabi. Hello, Oliver. He's very too sad. You're going to have a piece of baby food. You can probably have some gingerbread, actually. you want to try some of this? Let's see if Oliver likes gingerbread. Maybe. There we go. So, where was I? Patreon. Right, so if you feel like helping us fund some fantastic research, please check out our Patreon. We're going to put out calls for applications in March. And what we're going to do once we've received all the applications, Josh and I will go through them. Excuse me. We'll pick out maybe the best 5 or 10 applications, and then we're going to interview each person on the show, giving them the opportunity to really explain their research to a non-specialist audience, which is an acquired skill and not really one you get taught as a student. And also give you the opportunity to ask them questions about their research, what they're going to use the money for, why we should give it to them. And then when that is all done, I think Oliver likes cuneiform cookies. When that is all done, our Patreons and those who have sent us donations for the fund are going to vote on who they think is who they think we should fund. So it's kind of like America's Got Talent, but for academics. So I think that will be quite a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't have anything else. Do we have any more questions? Let us see. No questions that I can see. So we might actually call it a day. Thank you everybody for sticking with us through the technical difficulties. Oliver really likes these cookies. I hope I'm okay to feed my baby gingerbread. We'll see. Josh is like, Megan, you're a crazy person. So yes, I think we're done. Thank you for staying. It's been lots of fun. It's been a little bit disorganized. For that, I apologize. But thank you very much, everyone, for joining us, for your questions, for your interest. And I hope you all have a wonderful day. And we will see you all later.